But yeah, we're talking about the 10th day of Tavis, and the 10th day of Tavis is a terrible day, worst day in Judaism, because that was the day that it became possible for Nebuchadnezzar, evil guy, big sinner, murderer, rapist, conqueror, destroyer, and to lay siege to the Holy Temple, which is exactly the opposite. The Holy Temple is the place that's supposed to bring blessing and life and family and peace and harmony into the whole world. Exactly the opposite. And here we have Nebuchadnezzar laid siege to, how could he even approach the walls of this place? How could he approach them? So the Rebbe said, well, the fact of the matter is that we're sending us a big message, and the message is even to this day. Nebuchadnezzar did not actually destroy the walls on the 10th of Tavis. He just approached. He laid siege to them. He didn't touch the city, didn't even touch the walls. He was sending a message to the Jewish people that they have to get their Judaism together. They have to be more happy in serving God and more genuine in serving God. And if not, it lets in all these, how do you say, bacteria, spiritual bacterias and things like that, like Nebuchadnezzar and the church and the Romans and the Greeks and the this and that. It lets them all in. But it's sending us just a message that he just laid siege to the thing. And the Rebbe will go into this a little bit more. Okay, so the Rebbe said even more that that's the idea of tshuva, that we have to change ourselves. Like we just finished learning, we have to change ourselves, reorient ourselves to put God first, and then after that to do what we want to, right? Do what we want to, but we have to put God first, and then we should want to do what the Creator wants. So that and we should refrain from doing what He prohibits. So that's what it means. If the Jewish people would have just returned to the Creator, then that would have dispelled all of the problems. There wouldn't be any. Okay, so this is hinted at by the vision of Ezekiel, that God told Ezekiel to take a pan of iron and put it between him and Jerusalem, and this iron is Barzel. And Barzel is showing on the worst type of metal that there can be. It's only destructive. Therefore, it says that Barzel, iron was not, iron instruments were not allowed to be used in the Holy Temple. If they wanted to hew out the stones, whatever it is, they had to do it outside of the Har HaBayis and then carry outside of the Temple Mount, and then to move them in. But you was not allowed to. It says even when they would put plaster, sometimes they would plaster over the altar to make it look nice. You couldn't use a spatula of iron. It had to be done with cloth, something like that. Couldn't. It says that's the wall of iron that God told Ezekiel. The wall of iron is a sign that Nebuchadnezzar is going to come and lay siege to the temple. The Cheskel was like at the end of the first temple, right? That's when Nebuchadnezzar came along. He's going to come along and and then lay siege, and that's a sign of Barzel, which Barzel is a bad metal. But like the Rebbe said, that everything which is bad is also coming to send us a good message. A good message. So what could possibly be the good message from Barzel? He said that there's Barzel. Barzel is iron, right? Barzel is from a holy iron. What is holy iron? Oh, it says holy iron is going to show us that in the future there's going to be the wall of Jerusalem will be complete. How is this showing this? Here we go. So it says like this. It says that there's gold and silver and copper. gold and silver, copper corresponds to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There's another opinion that says no, that gold and silver and copper, and that also corresponds to the three temples. That corresponds to the three temples. The first temple is gold, and the second temple is silver, and the third temple is Nechoshet. Why is it Nechoshet the third temple? Because, and also by means of Yaakov, because this Nechoshet is showing that the Nachash, the letters Nachash, 1 second, is the serpent, right? The serpent will be transformed. Little bit by the Nechoshet, holiness will transform the third. That's the thing of Jacob, Yaakov, that's the Jewish people. Okay. Or we can say another way. Maybe we can say like this, that gold and silver, that's the first temple and the second temple, and Nechoshet hints at the third temple, but maybe we can say that Nechoshet, that hints at the period before the third temple, exile. The wholeness of the temple, right, that will be Barzel. Oh, that's what we're getting into now. That's where we are now. That's what we got up to yesterday. So the Rebbe said, we can say the first temple was gold. The second temple is silver. The exile, that's copper, because that's Nechoshet, that's ruled by the Nachash, the serpent. And that's the exile. And the third temple will be hinted at by iron, Barzel. Which Barzel is even worse in a way than Nechoshet. Nechoshet, we said, is transforming the serpent. The Nachash, Nachash is transforming it. That's the third temple. But some people say, no, the third temple is represented by iron. The exile is represented by copper, Nechoshet, and the third temple is by iron, which iron is even more destructive. To transform that to good is even a more amazing accomplishment, so to speak. There won't be any more destructiveness in the world. Okay. Gold and silver. Now, okay, there is a midrash that says like this, that they take the letters of Zav, Kesef, and Nechoshet, and because this is money, right? Zav is money, gold, you give charity. Three types of giving charity. One is giving charity, Zen Noten Bari. You're giving Zav. You're giving charity when you're healthy. Nothing is wrong. Just giving charity for good reasons. You want to help the poor person. Right? Kesef is the first stage, Kishiyesh Sakanat Pachad. Kesef, when there is an impending danger. You give charity so things won't get bad. Right? That I won't get sick, that it won't be a war, that there won't be disease, there won't be poverty. So in order to ward these things off, I give charity. That's represented by a lower type of charity, a little more selfish type of a charity, which you're sort of worried about yourself, so you give charity. Nechoshet, which is, of course, less valuable than gold and silver. That's the first of Natinat Chole Keshomer Tano. This is the giving of a sick person when it is said for him to give. And as a person is already sick, or he knows somebody that's sick, and in order to ward off this disease or to bring a merit to this person, so you give charity. So Zav represents a healthy type of giving charity. You just give because you want to help others. Silver is talking about a little bit more selfish, that you're giving because you don't want anything bad to happen to yourself, but you're also interested in the other person. And the third one is purely just to rid yourself of any bad things. And one way to do it is by helping others. Okay. According to this, we can say that Zav, therefore, maybe we can say like this. Gold, this is talking about the tabernacle. which accompanied the Jews in the desert in the first 440 years when they were in Israel, and also the first temple when it was complete. Both of those, the tabernacle and the first temple, the Jews were in a healthy state. They got out of Egypt. They were waiting for the temple. They were in Israel. They were all together. That's like gold, the best way to be. Everyone was healthy. Silver, that represents the second temple. Why? Because the second temple was missing 5 things. It says that the tablets weren't in their place, and the breastplate of the Kohen Gadol was missing the Urim, the Tumim. Therefore, it says, Yesh sakanat pachad. There's already a little bit of a worry there. Maybe there's going to be another time of destruction. This came after the first destruction. Maybe there's going to be even more things missing. Chas v'shalom maybe the whole temple will be destroyed, which that in fact was what happened. Nechoshet, copper, this hints at Ma'amad HaMatzah, the state of the Jewish people in exile. That because there is no holy temple, Nasim B'nai Israel, the Jewish people, are in a state of being sick. Being sick, Shomer Tonu. Shezui, this is the request and the demand of God, give. Right? A sick person, a big problem of a sick person is he can't think of anything else except for himself. He's consumed with himself. This hurts me, that hurts me, don't make noise. Please don't leave the window open, don't smoke, don't talk loud, don't. Right? He's worried about himself, thinks about himself all the time. Very oversensitive. But it's how do you say, it's in tune with his state. His state is that he's very fragile. So a person like that, it says one way to get out of it is this is the says, I'm sorry. Shazuya, because this is what God is saying that they should give. What they should give with a good eye. The third temple, which is going to be the ultimate completion. Gam Gabi a Mishkan, even higher than the first temple and the tabernacle. The third temple, because when we're sick, we realize we have to have how much we're missing, and we're requesting God, please take away all the diseases. Mikdash Hashem konanecha. God, you build the third temple. That's going to be built. That's going to be eternal. There's not after any destruction. But Yesh we can say Shamalas and Nitzchiut of the Beit. That's the whole thing of the third temple. The third temple, which is after the destruction of the first temple and the second temple, will be built an eternal house. It says God is going to build it himself. This is hinting at Barzel. So we have the first temple, and the Mishkan is gold. The second temple is silver. The exile, that's represented by copper. And the third temple, which God is going to build himself, this is represented by iron, barzel, of Kedusha. And it was transforming all of the destructive forces in the world to be in holiness. That's what the third temple is. That's what we're waiting for. Now, again, just to stress again, and this can't be stressed enough, that Chabad Hasidus comes to stress what the point of Judaism is, and to remind us the novelty, the uniqueness, and the big gift of Judaism, and that is that this world, this physical world, is the goal. This physical world is infinitely, infinitely important to God, and the people are in it. Ideally, this physical world is infinite. It has infinite importance to it, like the third temple is going to be a physical building in the physical world. This is the job of the Jewish people. The Jewish people are also infinite. Life is infinitely long, right? Infinitely long. Life is infinitely long, right? People say life is very short, right? We haven't got time for the life is short. True, individual life is short, but life itself is infinitely long. Infinitely long. And when we do the commandments, this brings this out. It's something we can't understand, but it's the fact. That's the reality. That's going to be revealed in the third temple. The third temple is going to be built by God, physical place in the physical world, in a physical eternity. We'll see that the physical world is infinitely higher than the other worlds. That's going to be Barzel. Barzel means the transforming of every this possibility of finity and death and destruction. It'll be transformed. There won't be any end to the world. Nothing will be able to stop it. All the Barzel, all the destructive forces will be gone. That's the way it was supposed to be when God created it. Well, the Torah of Kabbalah, let's in the terms of Kabbalah and Chassidut, it's known that Barzel, iron, is the first letters of Bilha, Rachel, Zilpa, and Leah. Bilha was the maidservant of Rachel. Zilpa was the maidservant of Leah. From them came the 12 tribes. Daled Neshe Yaakov, these are the 4 wives of Jacob. Ha'imahot, the mothers of the 12 tribes. Ukanegdan, and corresponding to them, there are the 4 levels of the 4 mothers. There's also 4 levels of Klippa. Nukva the Klippa. When we have 3 klippas of Tameas, a klippas Noga, and like it says, Og Melech Bashan. He became the big enemy of the Jewish people. Og Melech Bashan. It says his bed was a bed of iron. She'em halu'umat zed the Dalet imahot. This is the opposite of the 4 mothers of holiness. This is right in the beginning of the book of Numbers, right? Let's have a look over here. No, I'm sorry. Right in the book, in the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy, talking about Og. Right, I made a mistake. Sorry. Right in the beginning, the 3rd chapter. So it talks about Og, and it says that Og, that his bed was made of barzel. Barzel is what we say, a destructive instrument. Well, it can be transformed to holiness. That's Bilha, Rachel, Zilpa, Leah. Well, the Hosef, the Iran, that this is the order of the 4 mothers of Barzel. Bilha comes before Rachel. The maidservant becomes before the master. And Zilpa, that's the maidservant of Leah, that the Shifcha, the maidservant, comes before the master. This is the order of the opposite, from below to above. Shifcha ki tiresh gevirta. It says that the maidservant will rule over the master. This is the idea of holiness, and the holiness of Barzel. The Shifcha is a good thing. What? Usually it's a bad thing that the slave has overpowered the master, but in in holiness, it's good. Why? Because we're talking about the lowest thing somehow or other becomes the highest. When you when you say that the Rachel and Leah are higher than their maidservants, Malas imos, we have the avos, like it says, Avram, kol asher tomar elecha sora shema b'kolo. I'm sorry. Usually the main thing of Judaism is the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, right? And their wives are helpers to them. But sometimes we see that it's not so. That, for instance, when Sora wanted, she said, you have to rid the house of Hagar, get her. And Abraham didn't want to. The same thing with later with Ishmael. Abraham didn't want to. And God said to him, whatever Sora says, you have to listen to her voice. Shoya Avram, that Avram was secondary to Sora and his wife in prophecy. So the wife became the main thing over the husband. This is like what's going to be in the future when it says Nekeva Tesov of Geber. It says that the wife will be higher than the husband. Tesov Tesov of Geber. What is it? It's a sentence in Jeremiah. Eshet Chayil Ateret Bala. Like it says, a woman of valor will be the crown of her husband in Proverbs. Shesfirat Malchut, the aspect of Malchut, the lowest of the 10 Sfirot, will be higher than all the other 10 Sfirot, the other 9 Sfirot. Sof Masav Machshav Techila. This physical world will be higher than all the spiritual worlds. Eshet Chayla Teret Bala, a woman of value. That Malchut will be higher than all of the other spheroid, like we said. Like this will be by also Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Like it says, Shlosha Ta'imu, God gave 3 people the taste of what's going to be in the raising of the dead. Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Like it says by them, Ba'kol, Mikol, Kol. And in some ways, the wives were higher than them. Similarly, also when the shifchot, when the maidservants, they're supposed to be secondary to their masters. Bila is the maidservant of Rachel. When we have Barzel is Beit, Barzel, Bila is before Rachel, Beit Resh. And Zilpah comes before Leah. Like we said before, Rachel, she gave her maidservant to Yaakov to give birth to children. It says the imot, they're at the level of Malchut, they represent the highest of worlds, Malchut, the lowest level of the highest of the 4 dimensions of reality. That's what Rachel and Leah are. And the Shfachot, their maidservants, they are Malchut, how it comes down into this physical world. In other words, they represent the lower worlds, Zilpah and Bila. Similar will be Evan Moaso Abonim, Moyasol Rosh Pina, like it says, the stone that was rejected by the builders becomes the head, the top of the building, becomes the high point of the building. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that they are the builders, Malchut, by means of their wives, they're the imhot. Lo ratzu lisa shifchot, they didn't want to marry the Bilhah and Zilpah. Kivin shemaso biarida the Bilhah, because they were too low. They didn't want to come down. Nevertheless, by means of their wives and the shifchot and the shifchot and the maidservants, became the building of Malchut in the ultimate reality that they came down into this physical world and built the Jewish people. Okay, so what are we talking about? What's going on over here? What's happened? The Rebbe is explaining the Jewish people are the 12 tribes of Israel. Israel is Yaakov. Yaakov's name was changed to Israel. The 12 tribes. The 12 tribes of Yaakov, they come not from the 2 wives that Yaakov married. First of all, Yaakov only wanted to really marry Rachel. That was all he wanted. And he got tricked into marrying Leah also. So Leah's was like secondary. But to marry Zilpah and Bilhah, no way. No way. Yaakov didn't want to marry them. He had no connection to them. What? Said, but Leah and Rachel, they brought the maidservants in. When they didn't give birth, so they said the maidservants should give birth. By means of these maidservants were born 4 more tribes. There were 4 more tribes that were born because of them, right? And so therefore there would have been missing the Naphtali and the Dan and Naphtali and Gad and Asher wouldn't have been born if it wasn't for the imahot, for the maidservants. So the maidservants, in a way, they were the lowest of all. They didn't even want to get married, but without them there wouldn't be Jewish people. Said the Rebbe even more, the lowest somehow or other becomes the highest. That's the whole idea of the Holy Temple. That's the whole idea of the Jewish people. That's the idea of the land of Israel. That's why maybe now in the news, more than ever, we can see it's the preparation for Moshiach. The whole argument is over the land of Israel, the physical land. Who does it belong to, right? And the claim that it belongs to someone other than Jews, who do you want to replace the Jews with in the land of Israel? Figure, okay, maybe the scientists, maybe the artists, with people that have absolutely no identity whatsoever, people that have absolutely never did anything good, pure destructive murderers, rapists, the lowest people in the world. And that we want to give to the Holy Land, to them, the land of this. So it says the lowest of the lowest places that you think that it's relevant to these people, the Hamas. I mean, these people are people with no merit whatsoever. How they can remain alive is a testimony that God doesn't exist. How did he even breathe air? That God is creating these people. How could it possibly be? It's a big question. And this whole thing revolves around the physical land of Israel, physical land of Israel. And that's the whole idea that's coming. The lowest becomes the highest. Alderich says similarly, we can also explain regarding the Holy Temple. The Holy Temple is the lowest and it becomes the highest. We explain that in Chassidut that the Holy Temple was made from stones. Why was it made from stones? We remember learning this last week. Why was the Holy Temple made from stones? It was made from stones because in boni it's bullet. There shouldn't be any wood in them at all. Which is not the case. There were boards that were sunk in. They let that go because that's something like this is going to be like the completion of the world to come. The future of the world to come is that the stones are going to be the highest. Sfirat Malchut, the lowest of the 10 Sfirot, that will be higher than all the spiritual worlds. Like we said, Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, Mother Earth, will be the crown over all the spiritual worlds. Therefore, the third temple will be built, the first and the second also, and the third temple will be built from stones. And mineral. Shemora, this is the Sfirot of Malchut, the lowest of the 10 Sfirot, and it won't be made from Atzei Shitim, from boards, from wood, that's vegetable. That indicates on Zer Anpin, we said before, it grows. That's like the emotions of God. But by means, it'll be built by the temples, the first and second temples, they were built by means of stones. The stones, but they weren't built by means of iron. Iron shows an even lower. The first and the second temples, they were built by stones, and you couldn't bring iron into them. Iron shows on Malchut as it comes down into the lower worlds. So therefore, the third temple will be revealed how Malchut is like the imahot, like the servants of the mothers. We had that they're showing how Malchut comes down into the world of the potential of bad. That in the future, the third temple won't just be like made of stones, as with the lowest, like like Malchut is as it is in Atzilut. That shows that power, but the Barzel, which will be even stronger than stones, this will be Avnei Barzel. That's what it says about the land of Israel. Its stones are stones of iron. And that will be the third temple. The third temple will be built with iron. The bad will be transformed to good. And that will be hinted at the Rosh Tevis Barzel, Bila, Rachel, Zilpa, Valeah. So what do we learn here? What did we learn today? We learned today that the sign that God gave to Ezekiel, Yechezkel, that Nebuchadnezzar was going to come and lay siege to the city of Jerusalem, to the Holy Temple. He was going to lay siege to the temple. And this, in fact, happened on the 10th day of Tavis, which is going to be this Friday. We're celebrating this Friday. This is a terrible thing because iron is a destructive material made only to kill and to destroy and to wreck things. With iron, you can knock down buildings that are made from stone. Stone is low enough as it is. The first and the second temple were made from stone to show that we want to elevate the lowest. But iron you couldn't bring in. The third temple, it says that will be made of, we'll see how this is made of iron. The third temple will be made of iron. And that's really the high quality of Israel. It says that the stones of Israel, its stones are stones of iron. Iron. And iron represents how the lowest things became elevated to be the highest. So to speak, it'll be a world where there won't be anything bad. There won't be any destruction. Won't be depression, won't be aggression, won't be, the addictions. All those things are totally unnecessary for the world. But unfortunately, we see that they're a very, disproportionately powerful percentage of reality today. And those things will be gone. It says that Barzel, the third temple, will be made from iron. And that's the message we can learn from the iron plate that God told Ezekiel to make between him, and that represented the 10th day of Tavis, when Nebuchadnezzar laid siege to the temple. We'll see that somehow where there's laying siege that also made it stronger. We'll see that in the third temple. But it hints at the third temple, when the third temple will be made of iron, and all the bad will be transformed to good. And now let us continue. Very good. Continue this tomorrow. Love this.